All right, welcome to today's episode, and we are so excited to have Kara with us. Kara has been decorated with various awards. She's featured in countless books, magazines, and podcasts and YouTube channels, and she's also spoken in national conventions. She owns multiple residential, multifamily, and commercial properties in and out of the state, and she's the CEO of the steadily growing Kara Pierce team. Kara's been listed as one of America's top 100 real estate agents multiple years in a row and continues to be recognized as the cream of the crop in the industry. So Kara, welcome so much. Welcome to today's episode.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, today Kara is going to talk to us about how to make millions without even trying. And so she is going to give us some ideas on how we can grow our real estate business without having to put a bunch of money behind the marketing. So Kara, tell us a little bit about how you got started into real estate.
Yeah, I'm always the black sheep of the industry because I went to medical school, and that's what brought me to the area in which I practice now, the business. And yeah, I went to Penn State Hershey Medical School, and I always thought medicine was interesting, but never really had a desire to practice. So after going to medical school, fascinating, I decided that I was going to start a family because, female physicians, especially, really, I admire them. They, do all this training and then wait till they're about my age now in their mid to late 30s often to have children. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to bypass and have kids right away. And so, of course, after having a very intense lifestyle, having the baby, I just needed something else. So I started doing a couple things. I exercised some racehorses. I tutored kids in ACT and SAT. And then I also got my real estate license sort of on a whim because somebody said, oh, you should do this. So I said, okay. And so that's how I kind of got started.
Awesome. And let's talk about one of your core principles. So one of the things we were talking about is you have built your business by focusing on quality and not quantity, which is just a very foreign idea here in the real estate world because we're always trying to get as many clients as possible. And you hyper focus on dense populations one at a time. So tell us a little bit about your journey of how you used your background of going to med school to start to break into your niche in the real estate industry.
Yes. So I didn't really consciously try to use that, to be honest, because I think a lot of people when I left the medical field were appalled. And that's good because really any kind of publicity is good publicity, right? So even if your medical peers are ostracizing you or whatever field you're in, maybe they're curious then. They want to follow you. So again, I think I am a black sheep in the industry in that I do things a bit differently, but perhaps I can provide some unique insights. But yes, whoever I had access to at the time, whether it was through the church or through medicine, I gave them all of my attention. So it was very, very much quantity. I didn't door knock. I didn't do cold calls. I didn't do anything. Just whenever I did get a client, or if it was even through the phone, at the brokerage, just sitting by the phone, whoever I got, I gave them all my attention and gave them the highest quality that I could and didn't worry about canvassing for other business at the time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So tell us about how when you got your first client, when you're saying you really focused on them, what are some activities that you did to just really show them that you were their number one source of resource and to make them a raving fan of you? What are some of the activities that you did, or how did you get to know them so that they really became connected to you as their real estate agent?
I didn't think of them too much as a real estate client. I tried to think of them as a person and a human being. And so I love that aspect of this business, how every single person you meet, every situation's a different art piece. So if they were, had a family member going through cancer or they just had a baby, then I would bring them baby presents or I would send flowers. I think customizing personally to each client creates a lot of emotional impact because at the end of the day, we are emotional creatures. At the neurochemical level, it's how much dopamine can I increase their neuronal cells to release? And, our memories, especially our emotional memories, are really impacted by that process. Sorry if I'm getting too medicinal, but and so yeah, do you want to attack them with quantity? That works for a lot of people, right? It's just I didn't want to do that because I don't like being spammed. I don't like superfluous information being driven to me all the time. So I just created my business in a way that I enjoyed, right? As a consumer of anything, I like deep, impactful, meaningful touches, like if they have a special family circumstance, right? Or if their daughter just graduated from college, then you get their daughter a gift, right? And it's very sincere and it comes from an authentic place rather than contrived or packaged.
So yeah, so you really built relationships off of getting to know them personally. So these were people that were in your circle of friends. So were you interacting with them on a daily basis, or were you more, you would see something happen on social media and then you would send a follow-up? Like, yeah, if you saw they announced that they were having a baby, then you were sending a message like, I'm so excited for you. And you just were doing these personal touches. Would you say that's how you were really getting to know them on a personal level?
That's a great idea, Heather. I should do that. I think I really like to live in the moment. So I don't scroll through social media too much. Of course, eventually I hired somebody to scroll through social media and like things and post happy birthday and things like that. But at the onset, no, it really was one-on-one, personal. And I don't know, I wouldn't say it was every day, but maybe close to it until they finished their transaction. And it was really having a relationship with them and just authentically caring about their life. And as we spoke about earlier, Pareto's principle of 80-20, I would listen 80% of the time and talk 20% of the time. And I think when you give people the microphone, they will give you a lot of information and data, and then you can kind of see how you can help them add value.
Yeah, so I think it's important once you find your niche. So yours was, you'd been to med school, you had all these relationships with these people who are physicians, and you chose to just really get to know them and kind of create that personal relationship. How did you how did you get them to utilize you as a real estate agent? So, obviously people are listening to this and they're like, okay, yeah, that's a great idea. I want to get to know my clients, my friends more on a personal level. I want them to know I'm paying attention to their life and I really care about them. But also we do have to kind of insert in there, hey, I'm a real estate agent, or I'm an expert in your market. So they're not using someone who's left a flyer on their door. How did you get them to see you as the expert they should use now that they know that you care about them and you're just a really great person and you genuinely care about their needs? How do you then flip that so that they are then understanding, they know you are an expert in that field?
Yes, that's a good point. And really, I focused, how if somebody's rich, they don't have to tell you that they're rich. If somebody's smart, they don't have to say, hey, I'm smart, right? You could tell. And I think actions do speak louder than words, as cliche as that is. And so I really try not to be solicitous. I try to really just kind of show it. And so, again, I think everyone should just, look into themselves and say, what do I actually enjoy? And this may sound all altruistic and such. It isn't. I'm just lazy. And I like to be efficient, right? So I don't want to spend my days marketing and such. So to answer your question, if to advertise and show rather than say that I am successful or I am your realtor, I would highlight a cool story from a closing I had or a interaction or experience I had, and I would highlight them on social media. And so for the longest time, didn't do CRMs and was not good with that because that's not my forte. That's not my strength. So, but I think I use social media as my CRM. So I would post about other people on there and celebrate them. And that's what I really prefer to do rather than me. And then, eventually, as the exposure and things like that came up, people I have hired have posted things about me and the awards and successes, but that came really naturally.
So let's talk about that a little bit. The people that you are interacting with on a daily basis, obviously you're friends with them on social media. And so when you do have these closings, you do post, you'll highlight stories or you'll do different things. Tell us a little bit about, what exactly are you posting? And then are you getting the client to then share it? So now organically, your great experience that they've had with you, they're now sharing with their friends who in turn will start to turn into referrals. What are some of the things you're posting after they have a closing?
Kind of whatever I feel like at that moment. So if they had a, meticulous house and they really treated me well, I'm going to honor them and thank them and say, hey, these were amazing clients and, they succeeded by doing this. And you do show the stats and say, you sold it this much above ask in this many days or what have you, but really personalized and customized to what their situation was, or if they just moved into the area and they are attending, or going into surgical residency, you might want to highlight that, or if they had a baby or something, or if they transformed their house and renovated it, which some sellers do, then you highlight that and congratulate them on that. Yeah.
Got it. Now let's talk about this. Do you do any client events each year? Since you're very, focused on having those relationships, do you do client events where you kind of get everyone together?
Yes. So, at the beginning, when I didn't have as many clients, I did focus on each client personally. And we do lunch and, invite them over to my house, invite them to my son's birthday parties and things like that. As the sphere of influence and client database grew, you can't, go to lunch with every single client. But I first got into real estate when my first child was born. And so, I did. I invited all the clients I had at the time to his birthday party. And now he's 10 years old, and I still invite all of our clients to his birthday party because it sort of became a culture. um, and focusing the whole family, personal connection, theme. And so we hold a huge birthday party for him, and our clients are invited, and they get to see how the business grew along with this human child who's grown as I've, raised the real estate baby along with him. And there I do get to touch a lot of people at once, right? And so it's a high density touch event. And because my budget is bigger than when I first started, when I was on food stamps and had zero money, so I budget an amount for these events, and I try to throw them 1 to 4 times a year. And then during the parties and events, I try to highlight people, give away gifts and have competitions where you can highlight people. But it's a work in progress. I'm still trying to figure out how to make it very impactful and valuable for them.
Yeah, and I think it's important. One, I think that's a great idea. For those who are listening who are just starting out in their real estate business, having those one-on-ones, just taking someone out to coffee, to lunch, attending their kid's game, inviting them over to have a play date with your kid, whatever your connection is, I think that's really an important start to it. Now, once you start to have your parties, your client events, one of the things I know you talked about was you will actually highlight them each individually in front of everyone. So you're kind of giving them a little spotlight of something that might have happened over the year. If you helped, sell a home, you want to give a little story because people are connected through story. Storytelling is a really great way to gain referrals. So talk a little bit about that. At these events, you will specifically highlight some of your clients in front of everyone and tell their story, because I think that's really important. People forget to do that, and people want to relate to something. And so telling these stories, I think, is really important. So talk a little bit about what you do at the client events to kind of highlight your clients.
Yeah. And again, I do allow it to flow organically. And if, whoever is there, I try to do quick snippets and try to cover a lot of people at once. So it's not just highlighting one person. But I mean, I'm learning from this interaction with you. Maybe I should have that in advance and pick a few throughout the year to really highlight their stories at these events. So I'm going to take that and put it in my pocket. But in my events, I like competition. So I sometimes have push-up competitions, or we've had hanging competitions or pull-up competitions, and then there's gifts and awards, and then whoever wins, I try to tell as much as about them as I can. It doesn't even have to be real estate involved, but you get to know these people when you interact on a quality versus quantity basis, right? So, I mean, I operate more of a boutique style model rather than the big conglomeration, which is amazing. And I do commend people who are able to do that.
I want to tell you, one of the reasons why I joined and I just love Canzel is that I can get 100% commission, I get revenue share, and I get stock. I am making thousands of dollars every single month in revenue share and stocks. And I now don't have to work nights and weekends on real estate anymore. I've actually never been to a real estate agent's retirement party, and I want to be the first one that people are coming to at a young age. And I want to share with you some of my favorite resources. So if you go to joincanzel.com/free, there's a couple that I want you to download. One is a 20 free lead generating PDF. It's going to help you generate leads for free that you can download, as well as there's one on how to double your business. I don't want you to miss it. Go download it today. Joincanzel.com/free. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the team that you've built. So obviously you kind of got going by having these one-on-one, interactions, slowly building your referral base. What does your business look like today? How many people do you have that are working for you, and kind of what are they doing?
Yeah, my team is very lean and mean at this point. It's me, and then I have a agent who is phenomenal. She was a client, and her husband kept saying to me, Melissa would be great as a real estate agent. And I thought, okay, that's nice. But then she slowly proved to me how smart and valuable she was. And she's a doctor of physical therapy. So, kind of a career switch. But I guess, that medicine to real estate transition isn't unheard of. So, yeah. And now she's become a phenomenal agent. And through COVID, she put every single buyer we had under contract and won all sorts of awards, And so now I feel like she's better than I am in many ways. And I have an admin, a director of operations, and she, does the contract to close and a lot of the admin things. And then I brought on a buyer's agent who really does more of the showings and the client interactions. And so I really love the small, compact team we have. And we've had people in and out, but it's really like a work family because I think I am focused on a more personal model. And so, we're a great team, and everybody has their place on the field. I don't have to go and, y- you know, interact with every single client, but I'll do the negotiations and I'll take care of any of the problems where, Sean can make them happy and, do more of the listening that I have less time for now.
I think that's important. Yeah, one of the things you're really passionate about is finding what you're good at and kind of capitalizing on that. So like we talked a little bit about a lot of people listening to this call, some of you are great cold callers. You love to pick up the phone and just dial. Some of you don't love that. You'd rather do a mega open house and meet people that way. Some of you just prefer to just do relational, meeting at different activities that you might be at. So by building your team this way, you've kind of found people that are doing, like their strength might be showing where you'd rather do the negotiating. Talk a little bit about finding what is your passion, what you love about your job, and then kind of outsourcing the rest.
Yeah. Wow, you have an awesome way of putting that, Heather. Well said. Yeah, I guess, at the beginning, you kind of want to do everything to make sure you understand it all. But then, yes, as I am getting older, because I started in my 20s, where a lot of people in their 20s don't even know who they are or what they want, right? So I did it all from the paperwork to showings to listings to everything. And then, yeah, now that I'm getting into my late 30s, I want to focus my core energy on my children. And so, and I do love negotiations. I do really like legal contracts, things like that. So I did study that and read a lot of books about negotiations to make sure that I was, as efficient in that field as possible and created that value for the clients. But since I do want to direct most of my energy towards my children, again, we have Sean, who is just fantastic with clients, and I want him to be the first face they meet. And then when it comes to contracts and negotiations, he says, "Hey, I'm going to pass the ball over to Kara or Melissa." And then Maida, she's my director of operations. She's phenomenal with client interactions as well, but she's also a mom with young kids. So she's at home and she does a lot of the texting, email communication. So, you know, I can just, focus on not going out to showing homes, physically as much. And I'll go every now and again if I want to make a high impact touch at that time with a friend or previous client or whoever. And then I can just really focus on the negotiations and contracts.
Yeah. So I think people who are listening to this who are thinking, okay, I have some clients going, I'm starting to get a little busy. Now, what do I do from here? Is where you're kind of looking, what do you love to do? Like, what's your favorite part about real estate? And then when you're building a team, picking people to fill roles that will help elevate your business and take time that you might be able to have somebody else do that. So for example, showings, kind of when somebody's building a team, one of the first things that they might want to do is either an admin or hire a showing agent, because that allows them to free up their time to either prospect more if that's what they're really great at, or once the buyer has found a property or that property has been listed, then they're really great at negotiations and they can take it back over from there. So if you're looking to build a team, those are kind of the different things that you want to look at. What is your favorite thing to do? What are you really good at? And then whatever you don't love, that's what you start to outsource, whether you want to hire an admin and, like we help our agents they can hire a virtual admin for as little as $4 an hour, and they can outsource just the paperwork piece, or if they want someone to send text messages and work on setting appointments or whatever it might be, outsource that. It's well worth, what is your time worth per hour and what could you replace and have somebody else take care of to really focus your time back on what you're really great at. And so sounds like that's kind of how you created your team. You did it all at first, which is, I would always recommend, understand how to do every piece of it, and then find out the parts that you really love, the parts that you may not love as much, and then get those out to people who might be their really great things. Like you said, you have someone who's a great first impression. He meets the clients, he takes them and shows them the properties, and then it comes to you and you get involved when kind of necessary. And that's how you can start to grow your business. One of the things you talked about was really finding your niche. And so talk about some of the activities that you're involved in. Like, what are some things that you really love and how do you utilize those to just maybe create some more referrals out of them?
Yeah. So again, when I first started, I had a 6-month-old baby and I had just left med school. And of course, I had a scholarship, but I also had some loans, 6 figures in loans. And then my ex-husband, who I met in med school, he had his loans. So on one medical student's stipend from the government, we were very poor. And so I had no money. And I got food stamps and WIC checks for the baby and was on government help. And it was really during that time that I was looking around when I was waiting in line for my food stamps that I thought, I don't think I need these. There's some people who really do, and I don't think I'm one of them, even though I'm in this situation for this time period in my life. And there was nothing wrong with getting the help at the time, but I just thought I would like to be able to contribute. So that's when I didn't have money to apply for my license or even take the exam. So I looked around for a scholarship. And my local real estate association had a scholarship that covered your test and I think the course for the test. And I got the scholarship. So I thought, okay, great. Let's do this. And again, I had this baby. So really it would just be play dates or taking him to kinder music, or, it was really my people that I interacted with were surrounding the child. So that's where I got a lot of my business. And now that he's 10 and then my second son is 7, I have a little bit more me time since they're in school. So I allow 2 things into my life right now for my own pleasure, which is music and pickleball. So I'm a violinist and pianist, and I sing. And so I like to do that. And really, one of the best social media posts that got the most attention for me was I just played some piano pieces and violin pieces and posted them. And they have nothing to do with real estate. But a lot of people commented and liked it. And of course, on my cover page, it's obvious that I'm in real estate, and now people know that's what I do. And so I got a lot of calls and leads about people's homes because they remembered, oh, Kara's out there and she does music and real estate. And then I like to play pickleball. So, I've gotten a lot of clients through just doing what I like too. Yeah.
And I think that's a great point. A lot of times all we're focused on is am I posting a market update? Am I posting a house that's for sale or something like that? But we're forgetting that people really want to know you on a personal level. So that's a really great idea. Yes, have your Facebook have real estate stuff on there so they understand, like your cover photo, a great little graphic that's, showing that piece of you, whatever it might be. But actually some of your content needs to be personal things about you, becoming a little vulnerable, showing, like you're sharing your music. That gets people interacting with your social media, which then is going to continue to place you in front of them when you do put something out about real estate. Maybe you're posting a client testimonial, or you just closed on a home and you're giving a story. You're more likely to show up in someone's feed when they've been interacting with you. So I think that's a really great point. We need to remember that we need to not only be posting, of course, things about real estate, so we are, showing that we're an expert in our field, but at the same time, we have to post things about our personal lives so people feel a connection with us. And they really do want to see those types of things. So I think that's a great example. Like, find what you're passionate about. You're passionate about music, and then you're posting that, and then people are feeling a genuine connection with you. They're able to interact with your page, and now that you are going to show up on those different instances. So I think that's a really great point, is to really be posting some personal stuff on Facebook. I did have one question I wanted to ask real quick before we wrap up, because we're almost out of time. Someone asked, when you were talking about your buyer's agent, and how did you go about recruiting a buyer? Like, how did you find someone that was a good showing agent for you?
Yeah, I went through the whole gauntlet of trying to figure out how to find good people for your team, as I'm sure everybody struggles with that. And my people always tell me, look in your sphere, and you think, oh, do I really want to do business with people I know personally? And for my experience, it has been yes. It's like a warm lead versus a cold lead, where if they already know you and they respect you and they have a sense of loyalty to you, I think they're going to work better on your team. So who do you know? Who do you know on the soccer team, or the parents from ballet or whatever, and can you see them? I mean, I think it starts with listening. Listen to people. What are they looking for? Is there an opportunity for there to be a symbiotic relationship? If there is, then go for it.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, this has been wonderful. Tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you.
Oh, yeah. Friend me on Facebook or Instagram. And yeah, I'd love to keep the conversation going.
Awesome. So on Facebook or Instagram, do they just find you by going to Kara Pierce, or do you have a special handle?
Yeah, I think it's Kara I. Pierce. Yeah. And if you have any other questions, or if you want to meet up at any conferences or something, we'd be happy to.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, and we look forward to our next episode. So stay tuned.
Awesome.
All right, Kara, thank you so much. That was great. We appreciate you.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a rating and a review so we can get this out to more agents. And tune in next week for another power-packed episode. This is the Millionaire Real Estate Podcast.